Pirates of the Caribbean: The Curse of the Black Pearl isn't just a swashbuckling adventure, it's a perfect blend of classic Hollywood practical effects and early 2000s visual effects innovation. The film brought pirate mythology to life using massive sets, real stunts, and groundbreaking VFX work by Industrial Light and Magic. What makes this movie truly special is how it mixes real-world craftsmanship with digital magic, creating scenes that still feel immersive and realistic even today. As always in this video, we're going deep into the making of this movie and uncover how actually makers brought this movie on screen. The iconic treasure cave sequence is one of the most visually stunning moments in the film. On screen, it feels like a massive underground cavern filled with gold, water, and supernatural energy, but in reality, it was entirely built from scratch on a soundstage. The set was constructed at Walt Disney Studios, where nearly 100 craftsmen spent around 5 months building this enormous cave. The rocky walls weren't real stone, they were made from lightweight materials, like styrofoam, carefully painted and textured to look realistic. This allowed the filmmakers to create a huge environment without the weight and limitations of real rock. The water inside the cave was also not natural. Instead, a massive artificial tank holding around 300,000 gallons of water was built into the set. This added real reflections and movement, making every interaction with the water feel authentic. When characters walk or fight in it, the realism comes from actual physical water, not CGI. The treasure itself, the famous Aztec gold, was made from thousands upon thousands of counterfeit coins and artifacts, arranged in massive piles to create the illusion of endless wealth. From a technical perspective, this scene is where practical effects and CGI come together beautifully. When Jack Sparrow and Barbossa step into the moonlight and transform into skeletons, the scenes were first shot with real actors. Later, ILM used motion capture and CGI to replace them with skeletal versions. One of the biggest challenges was recreating realistic moonlight indoors, ensuring the lighting matched perfectly with the digital skeletons. To enhance the atmosphere, the set was filled with smoke effects and ambient lighting, giving it an ancient, cursed, and haunted feel. Interestingly, the design of the cave was inspired by the classic Disney theme park ride, blending nostalgic design with modern filmmaking techniques. The first sword fight between Jack Sparrow and Will Turner is one of the most entertaining and creative action sequences in the film. What makes it stand out is how the fight moves beyond the ground, climbing onto beams, spinning wheels, and using the environment in unexpected ways. This single sequence took around 10 days to shoot, and both Johnny Depp and Orlando Bloom trained for months under legendary swordsmaster Bob Anderson. Their training allowed them to perform most of the choreography themselves, adding authenticity to the fight. For safety, the actors didn't use real steel swords. Instead, they used aluminum and rubber versions, which were lighter and safer. The sharp metallic sound effects were added later in post-production to enhance realism. One of the most memorable moments is the balance beam fight, which looks dangerously high on screen. In reality, it was filmed just a few feet above the ground. Clever camera angles and editing made it appear far more dangerous than it actually was. As the climax of this movie builds up, the Port Royal execution scene feels like pure chaos unfolding in real time. But behind the camera, it was one of the most carefully orchestrated sequences in the entire film. To bring this to life, the filmmakers constructed a full-scale gallows set, complete with a working trapdoor mechanism. It wasn't just a visual prop, it actually functioned like a real execution platform. However, for safety, the actors were secured using hidden harness systems, ensuring that no real dangerous prop ever occurred. What makes the sequence truly impressive is how random it feels on screen, even though every moment was precisely choreographed. At the same time, the background was filled with dozens of extras, all performing synchronized actions, soldiers rushing in formation, civilians panicking, and guards reacting to the fight. So while it looks like a sudden, unpredictable riot, in reality, it's a perfectly controlled storm of action. Every second of chaos you see on screen was designed, timed, and executed with precision, making it one of the best examples of how filmmakers engineer chaos to feel real. One of the most memorable moments in the film is when Elizabeth Swann suddenly collapses and falls into the ocean during Commodore Norrington's proposal. On screen, it feels like a single continuous moment, but in reality, this sequence was split into multiple carefully planned shots. For the dramatic wide shot from above, a stunt double was used to safely perform the fall from height, creating the illusion of danger without risking the actor. But when the camera moves closer, especially underwater, the scene shifts to a completely different setup. These close-up shots were filmed inside a controlled water tank, where lighting and camera angles were adjusted to make the water appear deeper, darker, and more mysterious. This is also where the iconic medallion pulse effect was captured, adding a supernatural touch to the moment. The combination of real stunt work and controlled underwater filming is what makes the scene feel so seamless, like one continuous fall into the ocean, when it's actually a blend of multiple techniques. Later in the film, when Elizabeth is forced into the walking the plank situation, the realism reaches another level because this time, Keira Knightley chose to perform the stunt herself. Instead of relying on a stunt double, she decided to jump into the ocean personally, treating the moment like a real adventure rather than a staged action. Director Gore Verbinski did offer her safer alternatives, but Keira insisted on doing it herself. Of course, safety was still a priority. Professional divers were placed underwater, ready to assist her the moment she hit the water. What makes the scene even more intense is that the fear you see on screen isn't entirely acting. The ocean water was extremely cold, and the heavy period costume made movement and swimming much more difficult. So the struggle, the shock, and the tension you feel in that moment are partially real, adding an extra layer of authenticity that no CGI could replicate. In the end, this sequence perfectly shows how combining practical stunts with real actor commitment can create moments that feel raw, immersive, and unforgettable. For large-scale destruction scenes like ships breaking apart, filmmakers used 1:6 scale miniature models, which were filmed in water tanks to maintain realistic splash and weight. These practical shots were later enhanced with subtle CGI to complete the illusion. Finally, during post-production, VFX artists removed any modern elements, like distant boats or unwanted objects, from the background, ensuring that every frame felt like it truly belonged to the 18th century pirate world. In the end, what looks like a grand ocean adventure is actually a carefully crafted illusion, built using real ships, practical effects, miniatures, and digital enhancements. And that's exactly why these scenes still feel so real and immersive, even today. Another haunting moment in the movie comes when Elizabeth Swann witnesses the true form of Captain Barbossa and his cursed crew under the moonlight. As soon as they step into the light, their human bodies transform into terrifying skeletons, yet they continue doing normal tasks, like cleaning the deck, pulling ropes, or casually drinking wine. The most chilling detail is when Barbossa drinks wine and it passes straight through his skeletal ribcage, proving he exists somewhere between life and death. To achieve this seamless transformation, the VFX team at Industrial Light and Magic used a complex multi-layered approach. Each shot was filmed twice, first with real actors performing naturally on set, and then a clean plate shot of the empty environment. This allowed artists to later replace the actors with digital skeletons while keeping their exact movements intact. Instead of creating random animations, the filmmakers relied heavily on motion capture techniques. Actors performed in special suits fitted with reflective markers that tracked every movement, from walking style to subtle hand gestures. This data was then mapped onto highly detailed digital skeleton models, which is why the skeletons feel so alive and retain the personality of the actors. For example, Geoffrey Rush's performance as Barbossa wasn't lost. It was directly translated into his skeletal version. One of the biggest technical challenges was the famous wine through the ribs shot, which required advanced fluid simulation to make the liquid behave naturally as it passed through empty bones. Similarly, Jack the Monkey was played by a real animal during filming, but in curse scenes, a digital skeleton overlay was added to match the transformation. What makes this sequence even more impressive is that in 2003, motion capture wasn't as advanced as today. Many shots required frame-by-frame adjustments and manual tracking to ensure the transformation between human and skeleton looked completely seamless. The result is a perfect blend of real performance and digital magic, creating one of the most iconic visual effects moments in film history. The Port Royal attack sequence is where the film truly explodes into large-scale action. As the Black Pearl slowly emerges from the fog in the dead of night and suddenly unleashes cannon fire, the peaceful town turns into complete chaos. Explosions, panicking civilians, invading pirates, and intense sword fights happening all at once. On screen, it feels like uncontrollable destruction, but behind the scenes, it was a highly organized and technically demanding sequence. To bring this to life, the filmmakers built an entire Port Royal harbor set on the Caribbean island of St. Vincent. The buildings, docks, and streets you see weren't CGI. They were physically constructed to create a fully immersive environment. This allowed the team to use practical pyrotechnics for explosions. Certain parts of the set were designed to break apart during blasts, making every cannon impact look real and heavy. What truly makes this sequence stand out is its multi-layered choreography. In the background, civilians are running for their lives. In mid-ground, pirates storm the town. And in the foreground, detailed sword fights are taking place. Every extra, stunt performer, and actor had specific timing and movement cues, ensuring that the chaos looked natural while remaining completely controlled. Managing fire, water, night shooting, and large crowds simultaneously was incredibly challenging, and due to safety concerns, some parts of the sequence had to be recreated in studio environments. Interestingly, compared to modern films, CGI was used very sparingly, mainly for enhancements, while the majority of destruction was achieved practically. That's why the Port Royal attack still feels so raw and immersive today. It's not just an action scene, it's a perfectly engineered chaos, where every explosion, every movement, and every frame was carefully planned to deliver a truly cinematic experience. And that's it for today's video, guys. If you enjoyed exploring these behind-the-scenes secrets, then make sure to drop a like and share this video with your friends. And if you want more detailed BTS breakdowns of your favorite movies, don't forget to subscribe to the channel.